Wonderful. So welcome to the Silver Science Virtual Sanctuary and to our masterclass, The Cocktail for Change with Tania Carcenac. Tania, over to you.
Thanks, Faith. And hi, ladies. Lovely to be here with you. I met Faith, well, it was about this time, 2021. So we're just saying, couldn't believe that 4 years had gone by already. And at that time, I was starting a whole journey of change myself and doing a whole lot of exploration. And I created an online speaker series called Motherhood, the Third Chapter, how to step into your 50s and beyond with joy, confidence, and vitality. And Faith was one of my amazing interviewees. I interviewed 19 incredible women during that series. And even though it was titled Motherhood, the Third Chapter, Faith brought such a richness to the conversation, just in terms of expanding how we see motherhood and what mothering can look like to all of us, and just so that we just stay curious as to what these different terminologies can look like and how we can work through change in our lives. So yeah, that's how we met, and we've stayed in touch through the Silver Sirens all these years. So my journey of change has continued over all these years, including the going the silver has been part of that journey. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to sharing some of that part of it with you, and how I see change happening for a lot of my clients as well in the work that I do. So the cocktail for change was your recipe for growth and confidence. So where does this come from, this idea of a cocktail for change? It comes from sort of the elements of making a cocktail or a mocktail, depending on what you prefer. It really struck me as a fun way to look at change in our lives, because it can be quite a heavy, or feel like, oh, there's so much happening in our lives that this is another thing we just have to do. And it also really tied in, those elements that I looked at really tied in with the flow of transformation that I was looking at with my clients. So it was the sort of the shake, in terms of this is where ingredients are getting thrown together, and it's a stage that really takes energy. It also takes courage to sort of acknowledge that things are needing to change, and that we're stepping out of our comfort zones maybe as our routines and situations change. And then to go to stir, which kind of talk to a bit more of a connection, like a more gentle stirring sort of that happens as the ingredients start to come together. Maybe a splash of something new's been added into your life and into the mix. It can be a time to reflect, to be compassionate with ourselves, and just really connect deeply with ourselves again. Giving ourselves the time to do this is really key at this point. And then the straining of a cocktail mix is just, what can you let go of? Maybe it's old patterns, maybe it's beliefs, limiting thoughts. And again, just a little bit of courage and support needed often at this phase. So just to really focus on what really matters to you, and just get clarity on what direction is that you want to go in next. And then the celebration, the garnishing. And I didn't want this to just be at the end. I really want it to be something we garnish, all the way through, and celebrate our lives, just to remember that, we are all unique and individual, and just showing joy and gratitude for our lives the whole way through this process is so important. And then just so very few cocktails exist on their own. They often come in groups as we get together to celebrate and have a cocktail. So remembering to cheer each other on and be supportive as well as supportive. No one's meant to do life on their own. I really believe that we're so much better off when we share and come together in community like we're doing here. So if you think of your life as a cocktail, maybe you've been sipping on the same cocktail for years, and started out fresh and exciting, but it's somewhere along the way it's lost a bit of its flavor. And so now's the time to shake things up, to add a few new ingredients, to create a blend that perhaps suits who you are today, and not one that you've held on to from the past. So that's kind of where those 4 elements of the cocktail making have come from, and what they're connected to. Before we dive further in, I just thought, quick, who am I? I'm a women's life coach, a women's circle facilitator, workshop holder, retreat space. I'm also a mum of 3 young adults. I've got 2 still living at home, but 1 who lives away from home, although she is currently at home just visiting us for a couple of weeks, which is amazing. The nest is never empty, thankfully, just yet. Yeah, a wife, and my husband's traveling away at the moment, which is quite usual for us. Yeah, and just graduated as a life coach because I was just really looking for something more for myself. And so while my family remains at the heart of everything that I do, my focus has certainly shifted now to really follow my passions again and what I'm interested in. And that's what a whole lot of change and my journey of change has taken me through, to working out how to get back in touch with what I want and what's important to me in this phase of my life. So just working with empowering midlife women mainly as to rediscover their self-belief and confidence and joy in life. And so while I may not be able to help you remember why you walked into a room or why you opened the fridge, I'll certainly be working to provide you with a safe space to uncover what you may be wanting to achieve through your goals and as you move through change in your life. So as I move through the third chapter of motherhood and life, I want to live with more intention, more purpose, and less really giving a hoot what other people are thinking, and more leaning into myself and what I believe in. And that's really what I hope to support my clients to do as well. So those 4 C's that I have mentioned, the courage, but being honest with yourself, time to admit that you're not happy with some things that are currently happening in your life or in your career or with a relationship. And it's really being brave to acknowledge that you're not perhaps happy with some of these things and that you want them to change. And it's also building an awareness that I'm noticing these things and this is what I want to work on. And then that connection, it's not just connection with others, but also with your deeper self, with your values, your dreams, what you're passionate about now. And when was the, sort of last time you really tuned into what you want? The clarity to sift through some of the noise, the societal expectations, old beliefs, old habits, and really focus on what matters to us right now. So yes, gaining some clarity can be like filtering out what's been clouding your vision. And then that 4th C, the celebrating your journey, to acknowledge how far you've come and to keep your energy high for the road ahead as well. We don't want to be waiting until the end to be celebrating. We want to celebrate every step along the way as well. So those are the 4 C's that are tied to those elements in a bit more detail. So the first one is the courage, the first C, and it's really, I think, the foundational part of it, because we so often need this piece in order to change. And our brains have been designed to keep us safe in our routines and our habits and things that they recognize. And this fear that comes up can be a really powerful emotion. And there's so many different types of fear. The fear of the future. What if I fail? What will others think of me if I do this? The sort of second guessing ourselves and fear of judgment and criticism. So hopefully as we move through this and even as we age, we start to let go of this one a little bit, fear of what other people think, and start just to lean into and trust ourselves a bit more. We're not starting from the beginning or ground zero. We are starting with a wealth of experience behind us as well. So we want to build on that and acknowledge the lessons that we've already learned and the tools we already have in our toolkit. So, but there may be some, some tools that are worth putting down now and letting go of, as well as, what might we want to add to this toolbox as we start to move forward with it. Right. So courage, can you identify something in your life that, you feel like you're ready to let go of, or that is shaking you up and that you're ready to change? Research shows that midlife women often feel braver as they age, with so many of us starting to feel less tied to other people's opinions. So what does courage look like to you? And maybe sort of embracing a beginner's mindset, which is something I've been working really hard on recently as I build a new career and step into new spaces, is not having to have all the answers and to know exactly what the outcome's going to be, but to really lean into this beginner's mindset, to be curious, to be prepared to not get it right and to not have all the answers. Because I think we can sit in spaces at this time of our life where we are perhaps the expert in our career. We have been a wife and mother for many years, and we think we've got a lot of the answers behind us to support others. And while we do, we also need to lean into that beginner's mindset as well. What could it look like if I changed it? What could it look like if I do something different? And I don't know the answer, whether it's starting a new hobby, a sport, or a new pathway that you want to take. please feel free to ask any questions or put things in the chat box. I have got it open, so if I look sideways, that's what you'll see me doing. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat as well. If anybody has anything that they want to add or comment on or ask a question along the way, I'm happy to keep an eye on that. So identifying where we want to make change, having a look at our life and sort of getting a little uncomfortable with it and being real and honest about maybe when change is not just possible, but where it's really essential that we make some changes. It might involve shifting mindset, changing habits. It might be small things which can be just as hard to change as big things. So don't just think of, these huge, big changes. It can be something really small and simple. And if I share something from my personal journey over just the beginning of this year, I've always enjoyed having a blow wave. I don't have curly hair. Sophie, I can see, has got beautiful curly hair. That's a bit like my sister's. I've got a few kinks and that's about it. So I've always sort of preferred to blow dry my hair so I don't look like I've been pulled through a bush backwards by the next day. But this year we live about 10 minutes from the beach, but we don't go. And we've got a swimming pool, but was never getting in it. And I was like, why aren't I doing these things? I really do enjoy going for a walk on the beach and having a swim, and I'm just not doing it. And part of it was the identity that I was holding on to of having blow-dried hair and feeling like that's how I needed to present myself all the time. So it was, okay, if I'm going to show up online for a meeting or a coaching session with a client, can I show up without having blow-dried my hair? Can I just have air-dried hair? And what is this going to give me? Why am I going to make this change? So we'll tap into that a little bit more, but just something simple like that. It might feel really silly to some people, but for me, it was quite a big stumbling block to get through. So change can look very different for different people. So when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, it's really identifying that one small step that I can make to embrace this change. What's the one thing I can do? And just research shows that like nearly 70% of midlife women are looking for new experiences and adventures to feel more fulfilled in their lives. And this shows that at this stage of our life, we really are keen to shake things up and look for something else. We're really wanting to find our purpose moving forward and understand. I think we find we have some time and a little bit more space in our lives to spend, and then we start to look at what's going on and what we're not so happy with, and what we can perhaps change. And again, here's the courage. It doesn't need to be big to need courage. And this is often the hardest part, is taking that first step. Just what's that first small shift that we can make to start this process of change. And often with clients, it's just saying yes, just saying yes to giving it a go and trying something new. And for coaching clients, it's saying yes to working with somebody because I didn't know that was possible. And I know that if I don't have someone supporting me, everybody else's priorities will come first and mine will drop back to the bottom of the list again. So getting into momentum, taking that small step and getting going. So perhaps there was a workbook. I don't know if you've received it or you've printed it out, got it. So there was a small workbook. I can pop the link in the chat if you want to grab it, if you haven't already got it. See if I can add it in there. There we go. If you need it, you can grab it there, but I will also pop it onto the resources page for afterwards. So it might just be trying to identify that initial step that you need to take, and where the change is going to happen, where the shake-up is happening in your life. Love you to walk away today having identified that one first step that maybe you need to take in this courage piece of it. Where am I going to need to show some courage to take that first step? Anything come up for anyone that they're feeling that they'd like to share of courage and where they're going to take a first step on this journey of creating their cocktail of change? Let me know in the chat or come off mute. Yes, June.
Oh, so I'm happy to share.
Mm.
As a mature student, I when I made a decision, I was already 47, to change career, and I worked in the financial service, financial planning industry for almost 2 decades. And I start feeling that's all I need. That's all, not all, everything for me in my life. There's
Mm.
more. I want to search that for happiness. Obviously, it was good for making money as a financial planner. Um, after almost 20 years, there's steady income. But there was courageous step. I want to fulfill one of my deepest desire to study, and also searching for happiness. And so I went to search a course that was it taken 2 years and to make a decision. So scared to go back to study and quit, sell the business, and to become a student again, and the bachelor degree, started public health because I was in financial service, totally different field. But I think the fear was, of course, people already making comments when I told people I'm study and I enrolled this course. Friends, they say, "You are so courageous." They worried, like you're gonna fail or you're not gonna finish this. It's like totally different field. And some friend would come and say, "We are already old enough. Our life is shaped. Why?" So the comment was sometimes very negative. And it's a funny thing is mostly our female friends, because I share my desire with them. And so the limiting belief is we all have, like, we don't see ourselves. Some women also don't see ourselves. We can make a challenge and make something true, even follow our desire, even not be afraid of failure. Just do it. So I think, what if I fail? So what? I can still go back to work what I did before. So I think that's the first step of recognizing the courage and not be afraid losing friends, not be afraid potentially I could fail, not be afraid to start from scratch.
Amazing. Those are huge steps, huge courage, and a lot of change in your life there. And that's well done. That's inspirational to go back and study and start a whole new career at that point of your life. But it just shows what's possible when we do open ourselves up to this possibility of new beginnings and being a beginner again and trying something new. And it doesn't have to be to the level that June started at, which is amazing. We can make our own small changes in different ways that we're called to in relationships or in life situations. So yeah, amazing. Well done. Thanks for sharing that, June. So yeah, just accepting that change is inevitable. It's going to happen. Life is changing. And we need to be able to have a way to work through some of the change and to face it and to keep moving forward and evolving. So then we come to this stirring, this connection, this more a time that may be a more compassionate curiosity and really being kind to ourselves during this time and deepening our self-awareness, taking time to reflect on our values and our passions and understanding ourselves again and what we want, what's important to us. So as June shared there, that she might have had a good career and made amazing money, but it wasn't something that was calling her and wasn't feeling, aligned to her, who she was anymore. And so just understanding yourself at this point is key to really creating something that you're going to enjoy going forward with. And building that trust in yourself, giving yourself the time and the space to really sit with, what do I want at this stage of my life? And I think we can be kept so busy in this world at the moment that we just don't take the time to ask ourselves these questions and reconnect with what really lights us up. And stirring in this phase of connection, but tuning into that inner voice that can be drowned out by the daily responsibilities and just be kept busy by life in general. So we want to, start to question, what are our values? What are we wanting to lean into at this phase of our life? And I've done value exercises numerous times over the last few years because I feel like they change so much that we think we know what our values are and that we know what was important to us, but that could have been at a time before we had kids, before we had a full career, and now life looks completely different. So what are our values now? What is going to lead us forward into this next chapter of our lives? And when I did my value exercise the first time and family didn't come up to the top of the list, my daughter was quite horrified. She's like, how can you say that family is not your most, important value anymore? And I went, as I said earlier, family will always be at the heart of what I do. So it's a core thing for me, but it's not what's driving me forward. It's not what I'm leaning into to take the next step in my life at the moment. So redefining what our values are, and courage happens to be one of mine, and so does connection, and so does celebration. So it's no surprise that these 4 C's are really tied into who I am and what I believe in and what I see a lot of my clients moving through as well. So just, integrating into what our values and what our passions are as we start to take this time to reflect on back with ourselves. You may have poured yourself into your family or your career, and you actually at this stage of life might find yourself at like the lowest point where you don't have the energy to do something new or try something different. And you've poured it all into the kids, and all the kids are going off with the attitude of knowing it all, and they may have plans for uni or jobs and whatever, and you're the one who's left feeling really unsure about what's next and what life is going to look like moving forward. So what are these new things that you might be wanting to add into your life? What goals do you need to set for yourselves? Not just in terms of SMART goals, but more things that you're connected to in terms of feelings, and what am I leaning into? So when I shared with letting my hair air dry, it was the feeling of freedom and spontaneity. That's what I wanted more in my life. So leaning into the connection to the feeling is what really helps us to anchor into the change as well. So I wanted to feel more free. I wanted to be able to jump in the pool, feel spontaneous about it, and not worry what the repercussions would be. And that's what that gave me. So if we anchor into that feeling, it really helps. So what values or passions do you want to reconnect with? What do you think you need to slowly stir into your life? And be compassionately curious, and when you self-reflect. As I've put in the workbook, do you know what your values are, and do you use them to help you guide you forward? So when I look at what would courage do as my value, when I think of saying yes to something, like Faith says, will you come and do a masterclass for us? I'm like, I don't know, but yes, because that's what my value is courage. So yes, I'm going to step forward with it, and I'm going to lean into that. So use your values then to drive you forward. And if you haven't yet spent some time identifying them, there are so many amazing resources and people who do them. Also reach out. I'm happy to. I could talk values all day. Anybody want to share if they have recently identified values and worked on values? I'd love to know what values come up for you, if they've changed, or if you're still holding on to ones you think maybe could do with updating. Anything coming up?
I agree that for me, courage is really up there, and I think there's so many times when I'm going to go and do something new, and like you, my instinct is just to say no, but like you, because I've got courage is such a big part for me that, I do what you do, which is just say yes, and then freak out later.
Exactly. Freak out later. Freak out and figure it out.
I just like to say, one's values don't necessarily always need to change, but sometimes the values can play out differently in different contexts. So you make a change, you operate in new contexts and new spaces, but sometimes those core values remain steadfast, but what they look like in practice could change.
Absolutely, because it's up to us to determine and to define our values at the end of the day. So what my value of courage means to me, or my value of connection means to me, can actually be quite different to what it means to you. So the value of connection to me also means connection to my heritage, to my family, to tradition. So that also plays out in how you define your value then, and how you use it then to move forward. So definitely. Thanks for sharing that, Ingrid, as well. Okay, I just wanted to touch on affirmations here, because sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, and we tend to be really supportive, really compassionate and empathetic towards others, but we can be oh so critical of ourselves. So negative beliefs and thoughts, about ourselves can cause us to self-sabotage when it comes to, yes, I'm going to say yes to something, and we have all these beliefs that we're holding on to and negative stories about I can't do this, and I'm not sure about how to do the next thing. So positive affirmations are just a small tool we can add in as well. And they are statements or mantras you can use to change your mental habits. They help replace negative beliefs with positive ones and to help change thought patterns as well. So they aren't enough to create change on their own, I don't think, but they can help to support you and your efforts to change your behavior, to build your confidence, to achieve your goals. And their affirmations are positive messages said in the present tense. And I think most of us, if we say an affirmation for the first time, we really just almost cringe. It feels really uncomfortable to say them. But that's part of, if you think about it, if we're saying something positive of ourselves that makes us feel a bit uncomfortable, that's probably because we have so many negative stories going on in our mind that we're not seeing the positives in ourselves. So we really want to try and rewire our brain and replace some of those negative thoughts with the positives, so that we're not so easily falling into that sort of negative spiral that we get caught in. And using the positive affirmations just to replace some of those is a lovely way to keep stepping forward as well. So a couple of ideas that I've really leaned on recently is, some of them here. I have courage to chase my dreams, and that I'm at peace with my past and excited about my future. There's so many amazing things that have happened in my past that I don't want to dwell there, though. I'm really excited for what comes next. And I think that's part of the silver sirens as well, is to be looking forward and to be looking for, exciting opportunities that are coming next. And I believe in the person that I'm becoming. I'm excited about what's next. So yeah, and a big one, I am enough. Just doesn't matter what's coming next, what I do today, I'm still working, I still want to improve, but as I am now, I'm enough as well. So using those sort of affirmations to keep working on that positive self-belief and that positive talk in our minds, because it can so often be negative, particularly for women. So once we've worked through some of that courage, or where we're being shaken up, stirring in some of that connection, we're going to look at gaining some clarity and letting go of some of the distractions that we don't need right now. So we often have, and I'm sure you do, find yourself with so many goals and intentions in your head, many more than you can focus on at one time. But what is exciting and aligned with what you want to achieve now? And what can you maybe record for later? So really want to dial into what we really want to do now. We cannot possibly do everything that's on our to-do list all at once. So we really want to get some focus on what's important now. I had a client who had a goal with being lighter in her life, and it was originally tied to a health goal. She had a chronic medical condition and she was struggling, but she realized that the being lighter in her life slowly moved through all areas of her life, because it wasn't just health, but it was a bit of decluttering, so that she had some clarity around her as well, in her office space and in her kitchen, a bit of a tidy up outside, so that she had a beautiful relaxing space to sit in, instead of a space that felt really cluttered and gave her a feeling that she had so many jobs to do whenever she sat there. And then the sort of physical environment was a part of it. So then the mental environment came into play as well. And so that rippled into all of her life. She started doing more exercise, did the bit of decluttering, started talking to herself in a kinder, more compassionate way. And so that being lighter in her life, it comes to all of it. And so when we think of setting goals, that's just something we want to think about, as a goal isn't necessarily just an action, but it's something that we really feel positively attached to. And then straightening out, what are we going to let go of? And I think as well, that's not just what I'm letting go of, but what am I giving myself space to expand into? So when I said I'm letting go of blow drying my hair, I'm giving myself space to expand into freedom and spontaneity. So yes, I might let go of something, but I'm also giving myself the chance to expand in different areas. So if we want to let go of old habits or outdated dreams, even relationships that no longer serve us, that letting go can also add. It's not just a taking away of something, but it's also giving us the opportunity and the chance to focus in on other things that are important to us and to grow in other areas. So what we focus on, we know gains momentum as well. It's kind of, we get that steps forward with it. We're putting it front and center in our lives. We're taking steps towards achieving something. And that really, helps to take away some of those distractions and get us moving in the direction we want to. What are your goals and aspirations? We want to be really clear and specific about what our desires are and keep that front and center. A friend had shared she'd broken her phone, and she didn't, when she got her new phone, she didn't install Facebook onto her new phone. She's kept it on her computer. That was fine. If she needed to access it, was there. But it stopped being a distraction whenever she picked up her phone. She couldn't just access it there. So that was something small, again, a change just to let go of, something just to ensure that when she sat down to watch TV, she was focusing on the TV, or she was sitting and having a conversation with her partner. She wasn't picking up her phone and looking for other distractions. So just small things we can make change in. Sometimes our dreams and desires have been buried for so long that it's hard to get in touch with them, even when we're, feeling really deserving of them. So having that time where we sit and get clear on what we want and then what we're going to let go of really helps us change those sort of patterns that we may be caught in. And some support makes all the difference in that, whether it's a friend, whether it's a community like this that you can tap into, whether it's seeking outside support through coaching or counseling, women's circle groups. It's amazing to lean into that support when you're trying to change habits, to have a business bestie or an exercise buddy, whatever it might be, to help us through making these changes. What do you need to let go of in order to move forward? What are you going to help you to create the space and time to work on what's really important to you now? Free the mental energy required to hold on to so many things and just let go of it. If you've ever had one of those secret socks on and they start to slip under your foot, and they're not enough when I'm shopping to stop and take my shoe off and pull the sock back up, and it becomes just this little niggle in my mind the whole way through when I'm walking through the shop or something, and I can feel this little sock just under my foot. And that's what we want to let go of, some of those things that are just that little niggle all the time. And how can we let go of those to create a focus for what we want to change and move forward with? So again, in the workbook, I put there, like, letting go of what we don't need to focus on what's important to you now. And just having at least one step that you're going to take forward with you now. What patterns or beliefs could you release to help you move forward? And again, if there's anything that comes up for you, I'd love to know if you want to share anything that you maybe feel like is just a small distraction that you could let go of, or a belief, something you're feeling like it's time to let it go. All right. So, what's next for me, and what are the steps I'm going to take to get there? Just making these small changes to put more joy and freedom back in our lives, to understand that letting go can be just as powerful as adding something new in. And just really anchoring into that feeling of what that letting go of can add to our lives. So whether you're making a shift in life, whether it's waking up early, moving your body more, or just giving yourself permission to be more than one thing, we really want to focus on the feeling that it gives you. And then the best part of it all is having all the different garnishes, and they can be as unique as we are. My way of celebrating can be just as different as my version of success is, and the moments that I choose to celebrate on the journey. can be vastly different to somebody else's. So we just really want to embrace our unique personality and style in the way we celebrate and express joy in our lives, and letting our individuality shine through is really key as well. We don't want to all be the same. We want to be able to show our uniqueness and show our strengths and our personality through it. I bought myself a rose bush called Follow Your Dreams. And it's a reminder, not only when I get to go and pick a beautiful cerise-colored rose that it is, but when I feed it, when I prune it, when I spray it, when I water it, it's ongoing. It's something that I choose to celebrate, and it reminds me of the importance of following my dream each time I get to go and look after that rose bush and care for it, not only when I go and pick a rose. So you may be able to, choose to celebrate your life through a gratitude journal or through spending time with friends and family. But what is it? Where are you going to celebrate, and how are you going to do it in different times? Where are you winning, and what can you build on and create more of? I suppose that's also key, is that we always think we need to have something different, but what can we build on that we've already got? We don't need to always be looking for something more. So we've already got some structures and some things that we feel like we're winning in, and where can we build on it? We don't want to be like a marathon runner who only celebrates when they get to the end of the marathon, because that is a whole lot of training, a whole lot of hours on the road that you're going to have to do before you cross the finish line. And that is such a small part of running a marathon, is crossing the finish line. So you really need to be celebrating all the way along the journey, all the hours of training as well, not just when we cross the finish line. So finding those moments of joy and gratitude. And a beautiful client did, she started off with a joy tracker to try and track some joy in her life. And then she created a joy vision board, which is a beautiful way to put all the elements that she was finding in her life that brought her joy, because she felt like she's also a mum with her girls are getting older, and she's worried about when they were leaving, they would leave home and go off on their own, and all her joy was attached to her family and to her children, and she really wanted to make sure she had things in place that were going to bring her joy outside of that. And so starting to create that tracker for what am I finding that brings me joy in life. And it was really interesting that not all of them were attached to her children. She found so many that weren't. And so it was a good visual representation as well, to say all these things in my life bring me joy. So really finding ways to acknowledge and celebrate all these things in our lives that bring us joy and that we're grateful for. It can be gratitude journals or gratitude jars where you put a note in at the end of each day. So many different ways to think about it, and to put that focus onto what really is good in our lives as well. And just, cheering each other on, and yay for being here in an environment like this today, where you're feeling supported and connecting with other people, and just finding yourself in a situation where you can be energized and keen to make changes in your life and look at it in a different way. So really celebrating that we're not meant to do life on our own, and we're here in a community where we're encouraged to connect, to meet in person, to get to know each other and support each other along the way. And just, celebrating yourself as well. So how will you recognize and celebrate your process? And is there a recent win that you want to celebrate right now? If you want to share it with us, something that's come up that, you just say, I'm really excited that this has happened. It can be a small thing, a big thing, but just making sure that we acknowledge them, and that we're keeping our eyes open to what is already amazing in our lives and good about what's happening around us. Because there's an awful lot that can be negative at the moment if you look watching the news or reading newspapers. So we don't want to be focused on those. We really want to be focused on what good we can do. And I think the David Attenborough film, I saw it a couple of weeks ago about oceans, where there's so much that's awful about what's happened, but I think his underlying message was that there's so many positives that we can do as well, and that we don't want to get stuck in that negative where it feels overwhelming and there's nothing that one person can do. There's so much as individuals that we can do as well. So that adding the garnish, how will you recognize and celebrate your progress? Because the more you praise and celebrate your life, the more you discover there is to in life to celebrate. And I love this quote by Oprah. It feels like such a good one to sort of emphasize that, yeah, we just need to remember to find the joy and to celebrate it in our lives. So in the workbook, there's the section to go through all those 4 areas, the courage, the connection, the clarity, and the celebrate, and then to build it together. So that you create your cocktail, and then what is this area of courage that I'm looking at working on now? What do I maybe need to connect into in order to make this happen? Is there anything I'm going to let go of or need to strain out of my life in order to build this new change that I'm wanting to make? And then how am I going to celebrate? Not just when I make the change, but all the steps that I'm going to take along the way, so that you're creating your own cocktail for change, so that each time you want to come back and change something else, you go, okay, this is what I'm being asked to change my life at the moment, and these are the steps I'm going to take to do it. So it really felt like a useful way to start to work through some of the change. Faith.
Now, Sue would like to share, as she's coming in from Portugal. Are we okay for her to add now, or do you want to wait?
Yeah, sure. No, go for it.
Hey, Sue, over to you.
Hi, is it working? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Faith, for facilitating this, and also to the speaker. Sorry, I can't see your name I'm going from a little phone. Sorry. I just wanted to add to that, because I'm sort of literally in the process of doing what you're talking about. So I haven't been home since the 4th of March, and I'm currently in Portugal. Faith knows at the start of the year that I knew that I wanted something transformative this year, but I wasn't sure what it was. And I did a vision board, and I just trusted my intuition, and it's just unfolding. And I'm very fortunate to be able to do this. I've had my own business. I can be kind of mobile, and I have a husband at home that's supporting me financially. So I understand my privilege in that as well. But it's been a big let go. Well, how I'm actually funding this is I've sold my wedding ring from my first marriage. It was a big let go. And I was waiting for the right moment to give to myself. And it just came to me. It was on the day that I actually took my hair off. Faith knows that as well. A big let go. And I walked into a hairdresser's and just asked for a buzz cut. So that was about, I don't know, maybe in April. And one thing I just wanted to add for the group, in my experience, the first thing I did was I walked the Camino in Portugal, and I've since reflected to my girlfriends that with every step of that journey, I've literally been letting go of the shackles of what I have internalised to be a good mother, a good wife, just that I didn't even realise that I'd just taken on throughout the course of my life, and I'm 56 years old. And it's been a really liberating experience. I think my family's in a little bit of shock, but they'll have to get over it. So, it's created space for new things to come in. Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible, Sue. And I can just feel every step that you take as giving yourself permission to let go of all sorts of things and the space and time. And I think we just don't give ourselves that. So many of us just keep going day to day and moment to moment, and we just don't give ourselves the space and time.
Absolutely. And the other thing that motivated me was to give to myself. Like raising kids, juggling a business for more than 2 decades. Where is the acknowledgement in society? Where is the acknowledgement of that? All my kids had graduation ceremonies, and I'll stuff it. I'm going to give to myself.
Amazing. Celebrating you in all of that and giving to yourself in such an incredible way. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think every parent deserves it. Or even if you haven't birthed a child, you just have to, I don't know, there's no kind of collective thing that we do as a society for women, that are caring roles, or whatever the caring is, your parents, partners, all of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. We just step from one caring role into the next, don't we?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, and it was ultimately an act of self-compassion.
And what a beautiful lesson to learn, isn't it? That how needed self-compassion is. So being
Oh
kind,
gosh, yeah.
being gentle to ourselves, and being curious about what it could look like. Your life looks completely different to what it did the beginning of the year, probably. And yeah, just being courageous to take that step, to be curious, to step out of
Yeah.
your comfort zone is just, yeah, huge. Obviously, the
But
huge
thank
way
you.
you've done
Also,
it.
yeah. And also, you know, the support in the sisterhood. There's no way I could have done this without, you know, my girlfriends. Faith, you're included in that, cheering me on, because, you know, the husband had the wobbles a little bit that I was going away by myself, etc., etc. And if I didn't have the support of my girlfriends, yeah, I wouldn't have done it. I wanted to acknowledge that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. That's amazing. Having that, when I mentioned at the beginning, the cocktails don't exist on their own or very seldom do. So just when you're creating this cocktail for change, know that you're not the only one who's trying to work through these things, that we all might have a different glass, we might have different ingredients in our glass, but we're all, you know, trying to work through these things. And yours might be a big change like Sue's and June's. It might be something much smaller for somebody else, but we're all, you know, trying to navigate our way through this. And how can we do it in a more compassionate, kinder, and in a way that really works for each of us individually? We're all going to make our own choices. But I just wanted, when I created this, to put a bit of a framework behind it so that it didn't feel quite so overwhelming when you look at wanting to make change in your life. How can you work through it in a way that felt a little bit supported and start to break it down a little bit? Because we can be really at a low point when we think we need to make change, when life is actually shaking us up saying you need to make some changes, and it can feel really overwhelming. So how do we break it down a little bit and just start to unpack it one step at a time? So that, yeah, this is just bringing all those different ingredients together, you know, the different sizes and shapes of glasses, but with these basic elements. Where am I being shaken up and needing courage to make changes? Where do I need to connect with myself and gently stir in my learnings, my values, my dreams, whatever it may be? Is there something I can strain out or let go of in order to have focus and clarity to move forward? And all the way along, am I choosing to garnish my individuality, my achievements, and my journey with joy and celebration, really? And how am I going to do this? So at the end, you might even like to name your cocktail. And that's how I took this sort of this workshop or presentation to the next step. I created a quiz where I created 4 cocktail archetypes: the bold Manhattan or the sparkling mojito, with a different energy of change behind it. So I invite you, if you're curious and you want to take it to another step and work on what could be your signature, you know, cocktail for change, go and do the quiz. It's just 10 questions. You can use the QR code that's on the screen there. Otherwise, it'll be in the resources page that I will share with Faith as well. And it's just each cocktail captures a different type of energy. And while you may meet one that fits you right now, you might see parts of yourself in all the others as well, because we do evolve and change. And hopefully this gives you just a little bit of a taste of how you can move through change and how you can support yourself through it as well. And then spark the conversation with what type of cocktail you think your girlfriends might be, whether they'll be a bold margarita or a sparkling mojito as well. So one of the others. They're 4 different cocktail archetypes. So yeah, just thank you for letting me be here and share with you. If there's any questions or anything you'd like to chat about, I'm here, and feel free.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tania. That's amazing. It's so funny. You're talking about change and dramatic change, and I had my own one around my hair, and I can't believe I didn't think about it. So
Wow.
So I was really attached to my silver braids, and I knew that for my 60th, going into this new decade, I wanted something really drastic, and I wanted to frighten myself. I wanted to do something so shocking that it would frighten me, and it did. And it took me a few months for me to get into it, you know, like I was so frightened. But and I had to bring all those parts of myself, because there were some parts were like, oh my God, you can't do it. And there was other bold parts were like, yeah, let's do it today. So I had to make sure that all the parts of me were on board, because I knew that if I didn't, I would freak out when I, you know, if I did it before all of my bits were on board. So it was good. So it was a really amazing process. And the only reason I had my hat on is because it's cold. I probably shouldn't have chosen winter, to do the big chop, but you know, I wanted to do it for my 60th birthday party, so that's my one. So the floor is open.
Amazing.
Share.
I think that it's so important that you made that change could happen so quickly for you by taking the braids off, whereas I did the silver grow out, and that takes like 2 years. And I felt like it takes that long because it took my mind that long to accept it as well, and to go through that transition of watching it grow out and accepting what I looked like and who I was, and my identity changing as I looked in the mirror and saw someone with grey hair looking back at me or silver hair looking back at me. So it's amazing that you tied that in, even though yours could be a really rapid transition. It's still, all the pieces still had to come together. And I think, it took me 2 years to do that gradually as I grew my hair out.
Amazing. Great. Okay, ladies, the floor is open. So we've got about 7 minutes. Anyone want to add a question or a comment? Please just unmute yourself and jump in. We do need to finish on time, though, because I do need to finish at 7:30. But please go for it. Who would like to share?
Yeah, I just want to quickly say that many times I want to do things and I'm really set to do them, but then I talk myself out of that, out of doing it. And then maybe days later or months down the line, I'm like, I should have done that. I should really have done it. And so I just wonder, when you're in that kind of situation, what is playing up and how I can get myself together to be able to actually do that thing, whatever it is that I need to do.
Yeah, that's for you. That one's for you, Tania.
I suppose it is just that initial step. You've identified now what it is you want to change. You've got what is shaking you up at this point. So that's the first part of it. I know what I want to change. It's leaning into the courage now of what are my beliefs around this. So that's that gentle stirring. What do I believe about myself in this process? What do I believe other people might think? What fears are holding me back? That sort of get clear on what's really important to me, what my values are, what I'm going to lean into to take me forward. So that's the sort of getting really clear on what I want from this. So when I talked about letting go of blow drying my hair a bit, that was sort of the feeling that I wanted from this change, was to feel more freedom and more spontaneity. So when you think about that change that you want to make, why? What's it going to give you? What's the feeling behind it, or what's the gain going to be for yourself behind that change that you need to make? Because if we don't have a definite why behind a lot of what we do, it's very hard to take that step through the fear to get it happening. So we really want to anchor into the why is this important to me? Because if I know that, then I'm more likely to be able to move through the fear and the limiting beliefs that I might have around it. What am I going to let go of as well then? Like what do I need to let go of? Is it the belief that I can't do it, or that I'm not good enough to do it, or that I don't have all the resources? So if that's true, where do I need to maybe upskill my beliefs or my toolbox for what skills I need in order to make this change? Yeah, and celebrating who you are and the skills that you do bring and all the life experience. I was a pharmacist. It's not something I do anymore, but I know that there are a lot of skills, listening, seeing a person as the whole and not just individual pieces, and all those skills of those years of training. Even though I haven't practiced for 20 years because we moved around the world and pharmacy is not a portable degree, it doesn't mean I've lost the skills that I had in my training and in the qualification that I had. So what am I bringing with me that is still, part of who I am and what makes me unique, and that I get to celebrate as well? So I hope that helps you, Jane.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jane. So we got some time for one more. Anyone who wants to?
June, I think, had a hand up.
Yeah, who's got a hand up? Sorry, I can't see everyone.
June.
Oh, okay, go June.
I thank you so much, and I was learned a lot today, and very good discussion. Is that something I just want to add something for maybe what am I thought about it, that we all procrastinate, it's a human nature, so don't feel bad about that. But I just add something like the signs of behavior change, like sometimes we can draw you know, like what Tania said, you know, draw down why, you know, why do I need this change? And also maybe get someone to make you accountable, you know, get your best friend or get someone helping you to become accountable. I think that's really helpful. Like when I try to run and then there was cold winter, I can't get up, someone waiting for me and I make me go there. So I think that could be a good way to barrier, you know, the barrier make us procrastinate. There's ways that we can overcome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the support piece of it, isn't it? And that cocktail's not on its own. So bring all your cocktails together, gather your friends, and you know, cheer each other on with the different cocktails of change that you're creating. So yeah, thank you for sharing everything today. I've really enjoyed being with you all. And yeah, the resource page will be there with the workbook if you didn't get it and you need it, with the link to the quiz and the link to the Motherhood, the 3rd chapter series. If you'd love to listen to the interview that I did with Faith all those years ago, still really relevant, some amazing speakers in that, with lots of, different snippets to share around stepping into another chapter with joy, confidence, and vitality.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I just want to finish off by just adding following on what you said, June, the accountability partner. That is my superpower. I have 5 accountability partners for different things, and I actually start a new thing tomorrow with a brand new accountability partner. I'm a good girl, so if I say I'm going to do something and there's someone I've committed to, I follow through. So I really think that that's a key. Okay, so maybe think about that, Jane, whatever you're trying to do. If you've got someone like an accountability who's also doing something else, but you can kind of support each other and come in together, I find that that's really powerful.
Yeah,
Doing
beautiful.
it. Great.
Beautiful.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you all.
Can I
think
Faith, Faith, can I just
sure.
add to what you said? Also, I really acknowledge the power when things are born witness, whether it's a friendship, and there's a real power in that in our divine feminine. Women used to sit in groups, and I think there's a real, like in sort of Western world, we call it accountability, but there's another way to sort of frame it up as well. It's the same thing, but just a different way. There's a real power in that. And even I've really, that's become very, very obvious to me in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So thank you very much. I think everyone showed. We just had one person missing from today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for those who are here for live and those that are going to watch the replay. Tania, really appreciate your expertise. That was so easy to follow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. Bye.